Everybody's heard before that using backing tracks and loops are a great practice tool to improve your guitar playing. However, not many of us really know what we're supposed to be doing in order to improve whilst playing along to these backing tracks. So today we're going to talk about how to get more comfortable exploring the entire fretboard by using backing tracks and loops as a playground to practice our triads and our scale shapes. So to demonstrate this to you, I'm just going to lay down this little loop that I created earlier. It's a quite nice, happy sounding, bluesy type of loop. Almost like a Grateful Dead song or a John Mayer type of song, right? The most important thing you need to understand when you're playing and practicing over a backing track is understanding the chords that are being played, right? This sounds really basic, right? But it's going to inform the triads that you play and also the scales that you're going to use on the neck as well. So what I want you to do first, literally just play the chords however you understand how to play them. So this is G major, F major, C major. So just do that first. Right, just understand what the chords are in the progression and how to play them on the instrument. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go in the direction of using this backing track to practice our triads, right? So we're going to take those chords, turn them into 3-note triads, and just arpeggiate them and follow them across the neck, and practice just kind of moving around and understanding where triads exist on the fretboard, right? So let's give this a go. So I'm going to go. Right, I knew where those triads were because I played these chords earlier, and I understand that these triads are found inside those chord shapes, right? So what I want you to do first, just be robotic and mechanical and simple, right? The goal is to practice and improve, not to try and sound like the most amazing guitar player, right? It's a tool that we're using to improve at the instrument, not to show off to other people. So just arpeggiate these triads. Then we're going to try and expand our knowledge and explore more of the fretboard by branching out into inversions of these chords. So we understand that we can play these triads like this. But we also know that we can invert triads and play them in different places across the neck. So I can take this G major chord and play it over here. So we're going to invert all of those triads there and play them in different places. Let's see how that sounds, right? So we're going to go. So now we've got 2 places to play all those triads all over the neck. Let's try combining them. And this is going to help us understand our knowledge of how to use the triads and actually apply them to music. We understand that we're not actually limited to just one spot now, right? Let's try adding in all the other triads, right? So we know that we have 3 inversions, 3 ways to play a triad. We have a root position, a first inversion, and a second inversion, which means we have 3 triad shapes for each chord, which means there's going to be 3 different spots we can play this progression on the fretboard, right? That's the first way. Second way. Right? So now we've explored the entire fretboard pretty much and learned how to play every single triad shape along to this backing track. We're using the backing track as a playground to practice these shapes in context of genuine music rather than just to a metronome or something. Now, once we understand how to just be robotic and mechanical and just arpeggiate, we can try making it a little more human, right? Try phrasing a tiny bit more, right? Try and make it sound more musical, right? Still using the exact same triad shapes. So let's give that a go. Let's see what happens there, right? And that doesn't mean you have to play every single note. You just have to follow the triad movement. And again, I'm kind of doing everything in one spot now, but what if I change? right? I'm still following the chords. And this is going to help you understand how to follow through the chord changes without even having to play any scales. You can use your triad shapes and connect them all across the fretboard in order to follow the chord changes, right? Again, you want to treat this like a playground to practice different musical ideas, right? When you're in a playground, you might have some time when you're only using the swing, maybe sometime when you're only using the jungle gym, right? You've got different kind of options that you can use. And we want to explore the option of only using triads. See how you can follow the chords just using the triads instead of messing around with scale shapes. But don't worry, we will get onto scales in a minute. But again, use the triads, just follow through those chord changes, right? Just don't try and overcomplicate it. Just start off by arpeggiating stuff. And then just pick out individual notes from those shapes and follow them. And see how you can do this all over the fretboard. And you're going to get some really nice, like musical, tasteful sounding phrases when we do that. So, now, once we've kind of messed around with triads, we can explore a way to practice our scale shapes as well. Now, you'll notice specifically with this kind of chord progression, it holds on that C major at the end more than the other chords. This means it's going to be really difficult for us to play like the G major pentatonic, then the F major pentatonic, and then the C major pentatonic, right? It's really hard to kind of jump through all those scales, right? So what we're going to try and practice now is going from a G major triad to an F major triad, and then we're going to mess around using the C major pentatonic, right? So we can do this like this, right? So just triads and then C major pentatonic. And you'll notice what I did there, I wasn't trying to be like some really complex musical genius, like shredding, trying to show off. I was trying to be as simple, basic, and mechanical as possible. I was thinking as if like I was a robot that was programmed to just play the most boring kind of phrase on the instrument. I'm just trying to get the hang of what the shape feels like in my hands and where it exists on the fretboard, right? You want to practice that first in order to improve. So that just means running up and down the scale shape, right? And just literally just arpeggiating the triad shapes as well. So practice that first. And once you're kind of comfortable with that, playing like a robot, figuring out where those shapes kind of fit underneath your fingers, and you're comfortable playing them without making any mistakes, then you can start thinking about trying to phrase them more musically, more human, right? So then we can start thinking about right? So that's the way you want to start practicing these things. You want to start like a robot first, get your fingers comfortable with the shape, and be okay with sounding like a robot. You're not trying to impress anyone, you're just trying to practice and improve. And then after that, try and make the phrase sound more human, right? There's a kind of leveling to this. You need to kind of start with the robotic, mechanical stuff first before you can unlock the more interesting human sounding phrases. Now the thing is, we want to explore the entire fretboard. We don't want to be just kind of limited to one spot. So what we're going to do now is we're going to find a different place to play this C major kind of pentatonic shape. We want to learn how to play these scale shapes all across the fretboard. And we're going to change where those triads are that lead into that shape as well, right? So we know we have this kind of like first position kind of C major pentatonic here. We can also take it up here to this kind of second position C major pentatonic. And what's quite nice about this is that we have these triads that lead into that quite nicely, which gives us a different spot to kind of play a new sounding musical phrase. So we're going to start off by playing this mechanically. You'll notice I'm playing the exact same rhythm every single time. I'm not trying to overcomplicate things, right? I'm just trying to practice and feel out where these shapes exist on the fretboard and get my fingers comfortable with them. So now that I'm comfortable where these shapes are, then I can start practicing being more human again. Right? And look, we've practiced two different places to do that kind of idea now. Now we have two things to go in between. So now we've kind of unlocked more of the fretboard by practicing these two different spots, right? So let's go. And you can see the more you start to do this and find different spots to play these phrases on the neck, the more you're going to have different like places to flow between and unlock the entire fretboard, right? Let's see if I can do this in a different spot over here, right? So I'm going to start mechanically with these triads. And then let's see if I can And you can see I just found 3 different spots all the way across the fretboard to connect those ideas together. And this is what's going to give you the ability to unlock and understand the entire neck. It's practicing where you can invert these triads and where you can move these scale positions around, and then practice flowing between them and connecting them all together. If you enjoyed this video here, I've got another one that you can watch over here that you're going to find useful as well. We also have a free school community which you can join in the description. There's loads of other useful guitarists to communicate with there as well. And I am also doing a triad masterclass that you can book with me if you want to level up your triads and understand how to play them all over the fretboard with ease. Again, there is a triad masterclass you can book in the description as well.